Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad you're here today. Today, we will reconnect to our bodies through energetic awareness, breath, subtle movement, and touch. Most of us are here because we're on our own trauma healing journey or support others on theirs. Many of us read The Body Keeps the Score by our founder, Dr. Bessel Kolk. In it, we learn that body-based approaches are very effective for working through psychological trauma. Since trauma alters the nervous system, including the nervous system in the healing process is critical. That's what somatic treatments do, and utilizing a combination of treatments is very important because no single approach is typically sufficient on its own. That's why the Trauma Research Foundation is passionate about bringing you integrate mind-body practice for working through trauma. Our first goal of this program is to share a diverse range of body-based therapies with as many people as possible for free. We want people to know there are options available and to have hope that some of them might be helpful. Another goal of Integrate is to give us the chance to not just talk about the approaches, but to embody them ourselves by practicing together. That's what we're going to do today, practice embodiment. And we hope you walk away with a tool you can use or share right away. I'm Mary Frangie. I'm so glad you're here. I produce this program and I'm joined by Connor McCann, my teammate working behind the scenes. Today, we will turn off the chat for most of the session to reduce distractions and help us focus on ourselves. And we'll also have time at the end of the session for a Q&A. We're thrilled to introduce you to John Amaral and his session, Developing Somatic Rapport, an energetic approach to reclaiming the body with presence and grace. John Amaral is an energy practitioner, educator, and founder of Body-Centered Leadership and Somatic Energy. Originally trained as a chiropractor, John has over 30 years of experience working with patients from more than 50 countries. His clients include A-list celebrities, professional athletes, globally recognized influencers, and thought leaders. John's approach combines somatic awareness enhancing tools and practices with energetic body work to help clients heal injuries, reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, and reach and sustain new levels of energy, clarity, and fulfillment. It sounds amazing. John, we're so happy to have you here. Please take it away.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mary. I want to welcome everyone that's here from all over the world. I want to thank Bessel and the whole team at TRF for having me. I think this is, in my several decades of working with people, this wouldn't have happened even 10 years ago, where someone who's practicing energetic work that's very, what might appear to be quote unquote out there, in a realm that might seem pseudoscientific or something that is like not belonging in a trauma sort of informed and trauma based kind of reality, is now making its way into the culture. And so one of my goals today is to guide you through a process that really has the potential to be quite transformative. And at the very least, has the potential to open up your mind to a different way of looking at and experiencing the body. And really, my goal is to spend a little bit of time up front framing the exercise that I'm going to take you through, because most of this session is going to be experiential, which is the focus of these integrate sessions: give you tools, give you direct experiences. And then there's going to be so I'm going to frame the exercise and just give you like the sort of the map or model. And then we're going to get right into it. And there's going to be some time, a short amount of time at the end for some Q&A for people that want to check in or ask some questions about what we're doing here. So first off, I just want to say that this community, this is a community that's leading the conversation really about the biology, the physiology, the neuroscience of trauma and healing. And so I'm really grateful to be part of this, participating, contributing. And for some of you, some of the concepts I'm going to go over as we go into the exercise are going to be new territory. It's going to be some new concepts, maybe some new terms, new way of looking at the body, what the body actually might be represented as in your awareness. And for others, this is going to be your wheelhouse. This approach, you'll say, "Oh yeah, I've worked with this," but maybe it's put into a frame or into the process that's different for you. And so, if you find that maybe you have decades of clinical experience working with clients or patients, maybe you are a therapist yourself. Maybe I think most of the people here have done some significant amount of therapeutic processes themselves, working with their own challenges. But all of us as human beings, we have challenges in certain areas. And those challenges that we might experience somatically as physical symptoms, tensions, pain in the body, contraction in certain areas, restriction to movement, chronic pain, acute pain. The symptoms that we experience that our body is giving us they're a pathway into a discovery that there's information and energy that is held within us, but also, and this is where we're going to get in today, not just within us, but also around us. So we're going to talk about the fields of energy that are both within and around, and the relationship between the energy, the consciousness or awareness, and the matter, the physical matter. And we're going to actually, we're going to be working with that nexus where energy, consciousness, and matter come together to form what we call the body. And the beauty of the title of this whole series, Integrate, is that integration is really the objective of everything that I've been doing and I'm still doing when working with people, when teaching, and when working with clients. Integration is really about becoming more whole. It's about bringing all the parts of the system into a cohesive whole. And that can only happen through awareness. So we're going to be bringing awareness, focus, attention, a certain quality of attention to our own system, our own body. And we are going to be, that awareness is going to be really occurring really on three different levels. You have the somatic, which somatic awareness, interoceptive awareness, awareness of the sensations, the qualities, the feedback, the experience of the physical sensory system that's picking up information from within the body. The cognitive, like the meaning we're making from that information. And then the field awareness. And the field awareness is like maybe a new term or a new concept for people, but information and energy actually in the universe is field oriented. Fields are primary. In physics, fields are primary to matter. So everything that we see, feel, experience, interact with in the physical world is part of a field. An electron is part of an electron field. Every little electron is like a little blip or a little wave coming up out of the sea of the universe, the sea of energy that is everywhere around us and within us. And then when we look at something, measure it, interact with it, we see the particle aspect, we see the material of it. So oftentimes when we experience the body, when we attempt to connect to the body, when we attempt to have this relationship with the body, we're going into the matter of it. We're going into the physicality of it. We're trying to change something in the physical, as if the physical is somehow separate from the awareness and somehow separate from the energy. I'm going to take an approach with you today where we're going to go directly into the energetic experience. And I'm going to invite you to experience something that might have felt solid, dense, immovable, locked in, somehow purely physical, and begin to what I call suspend the illusion of solidity. Because the truth is, nothing is truly solid. The universe is over 94% energy, and the very small amount that is matter is also at the subatomic level, waves, oscillation, vibration, and it is also energy as well. So the illusion that something is solid, that the body is solid, is what oftentimes locks someone into the experience of the past, what happened. They're unable to resolve or release or move something through their body because in their consciousness and their awareness, it seems like it's a thing that is a solid thing that has a physical source, and the experience, the awareness, the emotion, the consciousness tied into whatever the traumatic experience was is not able to be accessed. So I'm going to go through a process to help you and give you some tools to better access energy and information that's been stored in the body that hasn't been able to be tapped into, so that you can use that energy, use that information for healing, for growth, and for evolution, ultimately moving forward in your life. So there are many ways to look at trauma and to look at healing. And obviously we have in this uh, community. We have many people familiar with polyvagal theory. We know that fight, flight, freeze, dorsal vagal shutdown, the system moving into ventral vagal as you open up to be able to engage with yourself and the environment. We know that you can lose kind of higher cortical brain awareness. The limbic brain can get overactive. The body can be in defense and vigilance and protection. And all of that reactivity that happens in fight, flight, freeze is part of a binding up or storing of energy in the physical body. So tension in the muscles, tension in the nerves, tension in the fascia, tension in the jaw, tension in the nerve tissues, tension in the brain, tension in the sheath around your brain called the meninges. Tension is basically energy that isn't able to move freely in the system. So we somaticize when we become overly focused on the material, on the matter, on the physicality, and we lose connection to the experience. And so through the work of people like Peter Levine and somatic experiencing, through the work of Bessel, The Body Keeps the Score, and many others that have set the foundation for a lot of people in this field, we can begin to look at connecting with and experiencing the body as beyond just the mechanics and move into the direct experience. So that's what we're going to get into now. And I'm going to take you on the journey of connecting from what really happens. There's a fragmentation when there's a traumatic experience. There's some kind of fragmentation. It's like taking a mirror and breaking it and shattering it into many parts. And the healing is coming back into a cohesive whole. The integration is bringing all those parts back into realizing that they were actually, it's always been a whole from the very beginning, but we lost connection to the relationship between those parts. So I want to have you pick today if you have something that's going on, if you have something that is chronic or acute. Maybe you get headaches, maybe you have tension in your neck or your back or your spine. Maybe you have a chronic condition like a GI thing where you get stomach cramps or tightening in a part of your body. Maybe your throat constricts when you are stressed. Maybe there's been some injury that happened years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, or last week, but there's an injury or some kind of traumatic experience where your body still feels there's symptomatic information there. Your body's still giving you feedback. Your body's still giving you pain. And I'm going to invite you to explore a new way to interact with that part or those parts of you, bringing more resource and more possibility for change. So again, healing is about bringing those parts, that fragmented, mirror really back into relationship so that all the parts are communicating and connecting and moving together. Now, to do this, to kind of dive into the exercise, I want to frame a couple of things about this nexus of energy, consciousness, and matter that I think will help a lot of people kind of better understand conceptually before we go into the direct experience. So one is that I've already just described that energy can build up in the body. Energy can bind up in the tissues, in the soft tissues, in the nerve system. Energy can get stuck or held or bound as part of the fight, flight, freeze response. So on one level, we're going to be accessing and getting to that energy. There's another aspect of energy that is less talked about and less known, and it's considered putative, meaning it's immeasurable. Instrumentations can't verify it. But we know that it exists as we can feel the vibes. We can feel whether something feels good or bad in an environment. It's like how dogs can react and interact with different people. Horses, for people that have experienced working with horses or equine therapy, there's a sensitivity to the feel, the energy that's around someone that is different than the energy just bound up in the body and the physical electromagnetic spectrum. It's energy that we can't really measure, but we can feel. So that is the field, the energy field around the body, which is measurable with instruments in the electromagnetic spectrum a few feet off the body, but is felt really far off the body, oftentimes many feet off the body when we're in proximity to someone. So we're going to be connecting into that field of energy around us. And it is like imagine Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is in a building. There's a router inside, and it's generating a field of radio frequency, which is what Wi-Fi is. It's a field of energy and information. Now you can pick up the Wi-Fi inside the building, but you can also go out onto the patio or out into the yard around the building, and you can pick up this Wi-Fi frequency outside of the building as well, because it's moving through the walls and out beyond. So the fields of the body, the energy field of the body, is actually out beyond the body, just like the Wi-Fi goes out beyond the walls of the building. So when we look at the body and what the body is, and we experience the body as just being inside the skin, we may be missing a whole aspect of our reality that is actually out beyond the skin. We exist out beyond the skin because consciousness is not located inside the brain. If you slice open the brain tissues, you're not going to find John Amaral inside this brain. You're going to see neurons firing. You're going to have biochemistry happening. There's going to be fields of neurons firing off, but there is not going to be a consciousness located, because consciousness is non-local. It is actually not just inside the brain. It's in the field around, and it's in the field within. So we're going to connect into that. There's also the connection to the matter of the body. And again, I already explained that when we connect to the matter of the body, if we try to go just to the physical and feel the physical, like I'm, kind of pounding on this microphone here, or I'm knocking on the table, I'm going to keep my awareness just in the plane of material. I want to bring my awareness into the possibility that if I suspend that illusion that it's solid and I go into the energy, that there's feeling, there's experience, there's qualities of emotion that I can connect into that are not limited to the physical rigidity of the material structure, and it brings me into a direct experience of being. So I want to invite you, and this is in the words of Leisha, Bessel's wife, to notice, sense, and imagine as we go into this. Noticing like what comes into your awareness as we go through this process, sensing what pops up, what arises in your experience of the five senses, and then imagine, because for some of you, imagining might be the way that you get access to this process, because for some of you, you might not feel something directly or notice it, but you might use the imagination, because we're not talking about also just making something up. There's a whole imaginal aspect of being a human that is a whole dimension that is not just making things up, but it's letting yourself and allowing yourself to feel, experience, and notice beyond what has been like the normal sort of solid world that we kind of agree as a culture is reality, to open it up to new possibilities. So with that said, let's go into this process. And what I want to invite you to do is get comfortable. If you're, sitting, watching this, like sit back in your seat, kind of spine straight, finding a position that feels good, feels like it creates somehow more ease. Sometimes we're at the desk and maybe we're leaning forward. And if you lean back a little, it opens up your chest. Maybe your shoulders can roll back slightly. Maybe you let your jaw open a little, teeth unclench, slowing everything down. We know this from working with people that have experienced trauma. Slowing down is a really important part of the healing process, just allowing the system to ease up. So feel your root, which is the base of your pelvic floor, your sit bones that you're sitting on. If your feet are touching the floor, feel the bottoms, the soles of your feet begin to root into the floor. Feel the earth beneath you, that you're grounded and you're supported. You're here with the body, present. Just to take a gentle breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And you might let the tip of your tongue rest gently at the roof of your mouth if that feels good. That helps to complete a circuit of energy flow in the body. And as you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and you begin to slow your breathing down and slow everything down, I want to invite you to pay attention to the outline of your body. So in your mind's eye, or if it's more of a kinesthetic sense for you, just a kind of an observation that isn't visual for you, but you just sense it, the outline of your body, your head, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your fingertips, all the way down your legs, down calves, down to your feet, your toes. Imagine the outline where your body meets up with the space around you. And then imagine that outline of your body as translucent, so kind of see-through, but glowing, like a soft glow. Maybe it's a white light or a dim golden light or a dim whatever color. If you're visual, that might come in. It might not be. It might not be represented as a color. It might just be a sense or a feeling, but a soft glow that's all around your body, that's outlining the physical structure of your body. And then we're going to turn up in the awareness, in the focus, that outline, and let the physical boundary of the body begin to fade a little into the background, so that the outline between your body and the physical, and where your body meets the space, the negative space around, begins to get more diffuse. And as it gets more diffuse, the edges of your body, where their body meets the space around you, gets more and more undefined. It's blending more. And as it's blending more, imagine that any edges begin to be more porous. Porous, where energy can flow in and energy can flow out. And rather than that very defined edge of the body, it begins to be more of like a cloud or a pixelation of light, little pixels of light. And they're dancing and they're moving and everything, rather than being a static. My body is this physical structure, and then outside of me is the space and the air. It's blending so that the edges become more and more diffuse, and the space within and the space around begin to blend, so that there's less and less of a defined edge. And now as you take a breath, I want you to breathe, but as you breathe, rather than breathing just in through your nose or out in through your mouth, imagine every cell of your body and every pore of your body breathing in and drawing energy. A soft light, a glow, a feeling, a sense of ease, a sense of presence through every cell of your body from every direction, including your head, including your back, including your legs. And then as you breathe out, allow the energy or the feeling or the experience of that breath and energy to move out through every cell of your body. So the breath is coming in, but it's a flow and a soft flow of energy through every cell of your body, and then out through every cell of your body. And then take one more breath in and let it out. Now we're beginning to bring into awareness the energy, what is sometimes called the subtle body, the energy system, which includes the fields around the body, the channels of energy that are going within the body, sometimes called meridians, sometimes called nadis, but they are the channels of energy that are actually moving through and related to the fascia system, and they are just under the skin. And then you have energy centers, which are regions of the body that are associated with different physiological functions, and they sometimes are called chakras, sometimes they're called energy centers. And this is like part of that putative aspect of the energy system that is not measurable, but it's been talked about, discussed, worked with for thousands and thousands of years with many cultures. So we're going to bring that subtle energy system, the energy flow within us, the energy around us. We're going to bring that to the forefront of awareness, and we're going to let the physicality drop a little bit to the background, so that you visualize, imagine, sense in your mind this very, very soft, kind of diffuse energy flow that's all around you and within you. And the edges of the body are less and less harsh, less and less dense, more and more porous, and there's energy flowing in and flowing out with effortlessness. We're deconstructing slightly the illusion that you're inside the body, there's edges of the skin that hold you in, and then outside is something else. We're recognizing that there's something out beyond. So, how do we better recognize the presence of our existence beyond the physical form? We're going to use our hands to represent, like a stethoscope, how a doctor would listen to somebody's heart. We're going to imagine in the palms of the hands and in the fingertips this receptive surface, which it is because it's the sensory system, to reach out and feel or sense or imagine in the space around us something exists. Something exists. There's presence here out beyond the body. Now, the purpose of this, as we start to explore the space around the body, is to allow ourselves to move into an observer that exists out beyond the illusion that we're inside the body looking out. What I've found in working with people for decades is that sometimes people have experienced a traumatic injury, or an abuse, or some kind of sexual abuse or physical abuse, or they had a physical injury of some kind, and they feel trapped inside their body with that experience, as if they are held hostage in the infrastructure of the body, and the architecture is now built up around keeping them contained with that experience. And I found that people can begin to oftentimes move out beyond and look at or experience from beyond the feeling of being trapped inside, and recognize that their consciousness, their awareness is not trapped inside the body, and it can give an expanded perspective, a new position to observe and experience, which can dramatically change how the body's interacted with and how that experience is then integrated. So I'm going to invite you to go out beyond the body. And for some of you, one of the ways that I found can be helpful is, like, if you've ever looked at the Google Earth, where you zoom out and you get further and further away from the house, the place, your location you're at, and you go out and you see the surrounding neighborhood, then you go out a little further and you see the whole city, then you go out a little further and you see the curvature of the earth, and you go out further and you see, oh, I'm going further and further away. I'm going a vantage point that's getting a higher and higher observer. And that expanded perspective can create a new framing for experiences. So if consciousness is truly non-local, meaning it can't be located in a particular space, and it's not therefore located inside your brain or your body, then we should be able to connect with consciousness out beyond anywhere, because it doesn't have a physical location. So we're going to zoom out here. I'm going to do an exploration with you, where we're going to let the cells and the tissues of the body, we already made the edges of the body get softer and more diffuse. The inside and the outside is blending more. And I want to invite you to continue to expand your awareness. Now, whether that's with your eyes open or your eyes closed, let yourself travel a little farther out in your awareness beyond your body to about maybe 6 to 8 inches, maybe a foot off the body, maybe a little further out. And just notice that in that space, if there's a different quality or a different sense of presence than when your focus is inside your body or inside your head. So I'm just allowing my awareness to shift out. I'm putting my focus and attention outside the body. And now I'm going to go a little further out, and I'm going to imagine that I'm observing or watching from out beyond, slightly above the room that I'm sitting in. So if you're sitting in a room or if you're sitting outside, imagine you're zooming out further and you see your body. When people have an out-of-body experience, a near-death experience, there's virtually every report, the person zooms out. Somehow they're outside of their body and they look down or they look around and they realize they're not inside looking out. They're just present and they can see the whole scene. So we're going to zoom out a little in our awareness and imagine the whole scene. You see your body and you realize you're not inside of it. This doesn't mean you're dissociating or disconnecting. It's just a change in vantage point. We can be embodied, present, connected, and at the same time observing from further out beyond. Many people have had experiences where they had an experience where they're maybe standing on the mountaintop looking out at the beautiful scene, and suddenly they were out in the universe with everything, but they were still present with their body, grounded and connected. So we're going to zoom out a little further and allow yourself to look back or look down or imagine You might not see it visually, but imagine you exist out beyond the room you're sitting in, out beyond the house you're sitting in, and even further out. And you might do this in more of a meditative place where you're letting yourself zoom out further and further and further. And you're going to look back, or you're going to sense that your body is the epicenter of that vast expansiveness that is not containing you. Your body is actually emerging from that field of vast awareness rather than your consciousness somehow coming from inside your body. Consciousness is just present, and your body is an expression of that. From that vantage point, you can come back down toward the body and get closer and closer and closer until you come back into your body while keeping an awareness of being out here. So imagine you're out beyond, you're observing an experience, and you see your body like a little avatar of a video game. It's walking around or sitting here in this space, but you're not inside looking out through your eyes. You're actually outside looking in. Once you come from outside in, now you can look out, almost like a hand coming into a puppet and looking out through the puppet. So that perspective, for people that have experienced significant trauma and have been encapsulated or held and feel like they're stuck within their body with all of the intensity, all of the fear, all of the disconnection, sometimes just that shift in perspective of going out and then coming back and beginning to approach and come toward the body and back into the body allows them to realize that they are not stuck within, and it can begin to make information more accessible. So that's a change in perspective, a change in how someone's orienting their observer. So now I want to invite you to go out beyond again in your awareness, but this time I want you to take your hands and I want you to reach out beyond your body. And as you can reach above your head, you can reach out in front of you, you can reach out to the sides, but imagine your awareness is going out beyond your fingertips, and you're going to reach as far as you can out into the space, as far as your body will allow you to reach, and then put your awareness just beyond your fingertips. I liken this to, imagine you are taking off in an airplane and you're going to go through a layer of fog, and you're going to come up through the fog. And as you go out, you pierce through the layer of fog, and suddenly you're in the sunlight. And the sunlight was always there. The fog was just keeping you from being able to experience the direct sunlight. So when we go out beyond the body and out beyond the reach of the body, we can kind of burst through that illusion that we're inside, and we can go out where it's always sunny. It's spacious and it's free. And for some people, especially people that have experienced a lot of pain and a lot of fear being in the body and with the body and its experiences, there's a freedom there that allows them to feel for a moment like, oh, it's safe. I feel well-being. I feel freedom. The heaviness, the density, the overwhelm eases up. And then from that expanded kind of vantage point, which I would liken to connecting to a transcendent aspect of consciousness, some aspect that exists, that's always there, but is not the cognitive. It's not the personal. It's not in the experience of self. It's the non-self. I want you to invite you to go out beyond. Imagine a sort of a layer of fog or a bubble or a barrier that you're in, the illusion that you're inside, and go out through it. And then from out beyond, you're just in the spaciousness and the expansiveness, the freedom. Now, for some people, going out beyond the moon, going out beyond the solar system, going out beyond the Milky Way galaxy, going out beyond multiple solar systems and out into the universe, out into that infinite space, is where they feel so much freedom. And then they can come in as you're zooming back in toward our solar system, toward the Earth, toward the curvature of the Earth, back into the atmosphere, down through the clouds, and back in, and you see, oh, there's my body. Okay, now I'm going to come back to the body. And now as you come back to the body, remember that diffuse edges where it's not a hard surface that I'm either inside of or outside. There's a blending of the space around and the space within, the energy within. And I want you to just get closer and closer. And as you come closer, now bring your hands and bring them closer to your body. And I want you to look for right now a place that when you go to touch your body, it will be the place of most ease, receptivity, or safety, wherever that is. So I'm going to invite you to explore a few different areas, a handful of areas that I've found are most effective for people that have had a hard time staying with being present in their body and they tend to check out or disconnect. So one is just putting the hands here over the forehead with the palms kind of over the eyes like this, or on the top of the head, but oftentimes just slightly covering the eyes. Like if you were in a scary movie and you were covering your eyes. So notice what it feels like to come from out beyond your body, come closer and closer in, and then begin to touch and then sink or melt your awareness down into this area and feel yourself come into the body. Take a breath in through the nose and out. So that's one place. Another place that can be helpful for people that have had a difficult time connecting to the body, and when we go out beyond, they feel freedom. But when we come back in, becomes quickly like, oh, I'm back to the body, and they tighten up and they go back into reaction, is to have them come in. So one is the head and over the eyes. The other is in the upper chest. So you can put one hand over the other and just touch very gently in the upper chest region. And then just take a gentle breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now, the upper chest, this region, is a common one where people also have a lot of anxiousness and tension and a lot of contraction. So it may not be a place where someone can touch and feel and instantly feel peace or ease. And we want to acknowledge we're looking for a place not just where you feel connected, but a place where we actually feel a sense of more calmness and ease. So we're looking, if it's here, and that eases things up and you feel just more calm and feel more present to the body, great. If it's here, wonderful. Now, another place that can be a place of connection would be the solar plexus. So this is right at, I'm going to put my thing down here, right at the little pointy bone that's in the center of your, just at the bottom of your sternum, your chest plate here. So try that as well. So you're going to come out from out beyond the body, coming in, hands closer and closer. The edges of the body begin to meld or diffuse. And then you sink right through like a porous quality into this area. And then notice if you can have your hands touching that, one hand over the other onto the solar plexus, and then let it ooze out. And see if you can melt or sink a little ways under the surface, as if you're sinking right through the layer of the skin and going right into the interior of your body. And then the fourth area will be right over the lower abdomen. So just below your belly button. I'm going to reach out. Imagine zooming out beyond your body, out through the clouds. Maybe you go all the way out beyond the room you're in. Maybe you go out beyond the curvature of the earth and out to the stars again. Or maybe it's just a little above or beyond your body, and then come back in. And with your hands, touch into that lower abdomen area. Take a breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And notice, is there more of a sense of ease or connection or presence or awareness of being with and connected to your body by doing that? And then we notice we're always doing in through the nose and out through the mouth, because that's a breath pattern that grounds and helps discharge energy. When people start to become overwhelmed, when they start to panic, they typically start to do a mouth breathing and hyperventilating. We know that from breath work that mouth breathing can actually take you back into re-experiencing things. But in this case, we want to slow everything down, ground and connect from out beyond back to the body with presence and safety. So we want to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth gently with a normal but slow breath as we touch. Now, the fifth area I'm going to have you explore is bringing your hands from out beyond, coming in closer and closer to your body, closer and closer, and then put your hands all the way down right on your thighs, your quads. This is a place also that can ground and connect when people have the tendency to check out of the body, to dissociate, to have fear or overwhelm when they touch the body directly, is we can sometimes go out beyond, come in, and just bring the hands very gently down and just touch the hands on the thighs. And then focus for a moment on the, not just the edge of the skin and the muscles, but the energy that's all around and within the body in that area. And take a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slow. And then finally, we're going to go to another location that, for sometimes, if none of those feel like a place of ease or a place of peace or a place of safety or connection, sometimes I've found that having people reach around like they're hugging themselves and just holding their hands on their shoulders, kind of bringing their hands in front of their body and just holding themselves and curling up like this and taking a breath in and letting it out, can bring more of a sense of presence and safety. What we're wanting to do is enter into the experience of the body from out beyond, the experience of, I'm not trapped inside my body, and I get to choose how I'm going to enter into that space. And I'm going to explore where, when I interact with different regions of my body, do I feel the most connected, safe, and grounded and embodied. And I want you to go scanning one more time through all those 5 areas we just went to: your head, your upper chest, your solar plexus, your lower abdomen, and your legs right at your quads. And I want you to pick which of those 5 areas felt the most connected or the most somehow present, at ease, grounding, and somehow felt good. It just felt more peaceful or more easeful or better than the other areas. And if none of them felt different, if all of them felt the same, then I want you to go to the place that somehow, even if you didn't feel it and it's more of imagining it, some part of you knows that that's where you're more connected. So most of you will probably have found that one of those regions will be more easy, more connected, and more grounding, in a sense of more safety or more presence. And so I want you to go there. And it can change for different situations or at different times in different states you're in. So it might be that going to your head and touching here, coming from outside, coming in, melting through that illusion of the solid body and going into that sense of energy is easiest for you most of the time. But sometimes it might be your chest or heart. Sometimes your chest and heart may be the place where you feel the most connected, you feel the most at ease. You take a breath into that area, you let it out through the mouth, and you feel ease and openness. Sometimes that might switch, and when you touch that area, you feel pressure, you feel tension, you feel angst. What typically happens when a person is triggered, when they're stressed, when they're in reaction, is that the area of the body that is kind of coming up into awareness will be felt with tension of that bound energy compressing in the structure, in the muscles, in the tension in the tendons, and the tension in the nerves. And there's a kind of compression, and that can feel heavy. So that anxious feeling that people have, where they feel like an elephant is on their chest, they feel like everything's squeezing in and compressing, is actual physical tension as the system compresses and contracts. And what we want to do is recognize that that is energy that is actually just bound in the system, that we can move into and feel it directly. But if we don't have a reference to be able to feel energy in the body where it's ease and it's flowing and it feels light and good, then we may have a hard time going to the regions of tension, of pressure, of challenge, because we can get lost in those areas. So people tend to avoid touching or connecting with areas that are associated with traumatic experiences, oftentimes because every time they go there, they just get more anxious and they get more tense. What I want to invite you to do is use the resource of connection to the energy field out beyond to visit an area of tension or an area of chronic or acute challenge. But we needed first to establish a place of more safety or at least neutrality. So I want you to go there for whichever of those 5 areas felt like it was the most connected or most at ease, and put your hands there for a moment. For me right now, it's my head, it's over my eyes. And put your hands there, and then I want you to breathe in. And now on the exhale, I want you to make a sound or a tone for 3 to 5 seconds of release, whatever release, ease, relaxation, letting go. And it's important to make the sound audibly, that there's some kind of expression, because the limbic and the emotional system works on vibration, tone, sound, and movement. If you don't make the sound, if you don't allow the expression to happen or don't match it in some way, then you contain that energy and it stays bound in the system. So we're going to enter in from out in the field. I'm going to zoom out beyond. For me, I'm going all the way out beyond the curvature of the earth. I'm going way out into the infinite spaciousness that's all around me. I'm coming in, back from out beyond, closer and closer and closer to the body. As I come in, I put my hands, right now it's going to be on my head, over my eyes. I'm going to breathe in. And I'm going to let for 3 to 5 seconds a natural sound of release, whatever that is. For some people, making a sound is terrifying. It's new territory, and depending on your conditioning, your upbringing, your culture, your experiences, sound was either frowned upon, not allowed, or only certain sounds were allowed. So you could make the sound of weakness, but not power. You can make the sound of power, but not weakness. You could make a sound that was a sound of release. But if you made a sound of fear, that wasn't accepted. So we learned to condition. Through conditioning, we learn to distort ourselves, and we learn to not make certain sounds and not move our body in certain ways. And we either get trapped in there with that experience, or we can just leave our body and not come back to revisit, but through dissociating or disconnecting, and we don't integrate the experience of we're actually vast, infinite beings that are not located inside our body. We exist out beyond, and we also exist within. We want to move through both territories, out beyond and within. Part of the healing and reintegrating the fragmented parts is being able to penetrate the body and actually get to the energy and the information that's held in these regions of tension, which is, again, it's energy bound in a region. So now we've got a location that we can touch the body. So if it's your head, if it's your chest, if it's your legs, and you breathe into that area, and I want you to, again, make the sound in through the nose, out through the mouth, and sound, go. It's not about making a loud sound, getting it out somehow. It's about sinking or melting in by matching the frequency or matching the tone of that quality in that region. So I'm going to breathe in. And it's a sound that allows a sense of more ease, peace, or connection, that there's a release or a sense of softening or a sense of receiving that penetrates you a little bit deeper into the interior of the body. That, again, nexus of energy within and around your awareness, consciousness, and the matter of your body. And we're penetrating and going into it through a little sound. Now, that's a reference point. So now we have a few more minutes here to now explore an area of challenge. So I want you to, I invite you to think about or focus on some area of your body or connected to your body that has been either acutely or chronically challenging for you. Maybe you've had pain in your neck. Maybe you've had headaches. Maybe right now you have some pain in your body that's gnawing or sharp or pulsing, or it's got some quality to it. Maybe it's an area of injury. Maybe it's just an area that's an anchor that you recognize as a chronic anchor to a particular experience. I've worked with people that have had, auto accidents right around the time they're going through a divorce, and they have neck pain for years after. But like what was happening during the time of the accident was there was a tremendous amount of anger and resentment and fear, rage, and it wasn't really expressed and it wasn't discharged. And so it's still a pattern of energy and feeling and unintegrated tension, really, which is energy that hasn't been able to release. That not was just, it wasn't just about the mechanical injury, it was about the charge, the emotional charge on that experience that still exists. So if there's an area that you actually feel a charge, where there's, you touch that area, you think about that area, and it's like, oh, it feels intense to you, or it hurts, or it speaks to you, but in a physical way, I want you to locate that now in your awareness. So if it's let's say for me, my left shoulder and that kind of behind my back, my scapula in the back through my heart and lung area here is an area that has been kind of chronically physically tense for me. And through the process, I'm going to kind of continue to lead you through, I was able to identify that it's not just a physical muscle pulled, it connects into my heart, into my lungs, and into a sense of, and then ultimately the somatic awareness piece is there's grief. There's a sense of sadness or loss, a longing, an overwhelm, that if I can connect into it and touch into that area and actually sense it and make the sound would be, oh, oh, oh. Right. So that would match the actual quality of that region. And what happens when you match the quality, the feeling or the experience of the tissues and the feedback from that part with a sound that is resonant with it, the limbic brain can actually finally make that link, and the higher cortical centers can then start to assess, hey, this is actually a feeling. This is more than just a physical tension. So we're reestablishing a sense of connection. And we do that through, one way here is through touching into the area without judgment, without an agenda to change it, and also with the intention to suspend the illusion that it is even a thing that's separate from us. So we find a place of connection first, where it's like, oh, I'm home here. This is my body. This is me. I can feel ease here. So I'm going to do that first. So let's go back to that area. And we're going to let it out with the sound. Notice what that does in your whole physiology. Maybe it's neutral for you, but maybe it dropped you in more and you felt the sense of, oh, okay, relief, more grounded, more present. Maybe the sound you need to make to match that quality there to really take you to the next level is a little louder or a little softer or a little bit more animated. So maybe you, and notice that that's a discharge, allows some energy to move. Now, we're going to take our hands with that kind of sense of more connection, more presence, more in an easeful area. And I want you to move it to a place that's been tense, that's been in pain. For me, it's, let's say it's here. Maybe it's your wrist. Maybe it's your low back. If it's in the back of your body and you can't reach it through the front, then you can project your awareness through the front to the back if you can't quite reach that spot. But wherever it is, if you can reach it, or if you need to go on the other side of your body and project your awareness through, I want you to now touch into that area, come from out beyond, come in closer and closer, touch into that area. And as your fingertips or your hand are touching into that area, take a breath in and let it out. And I want you to notice if there's a difference in quality from the area that was more easeful and more connected. Sometimes we touch these areas and they feel blank or voided out, or it just feels like a hard surface with no yielding or no sense of presence within. Sometimes there's a sense of sinking or melting in and we're connecting and we're feeling. But other times these areas of symptom, and oftentimes these areas of symptom, are actually quite disconnected to where we experience the physical quality, but we don't experience the somatic awareness of, what am I feeling here? What's the sense? What's the actual quality that goes beyond the physical? So I want you to notice if there's a sense that you can sink or melt into that area that's been symptomatic, allow yourself to do it. If there isn't, if like you're just touching a physical part of you and it feels like, oh, that's a muscle, or that's just that's the structure of my bone there. I want you to allow that same quality of melting that illusion of the boundary inside and outside that we did at the very beginning, so that it gets more porous and you're able to sink or melt a little deeper in. And as you sink a little, melt a little deeper in, take a breath in. And then allow yourself to make a sound for 3 to 5 seconds that would match that quality. Oh, and I guarantee you, if it's been a symptomatic area, there'll be some element of angst, overwhelm, sadness, fear, intensity. It's a sound typically we don't want to make because it might feel out of control, or it might be a sound that we learn that we can't have. We're an achiever and we can't be weak. So we got to hold it together. And we make the sound of, oh, this is so hard. And suddenly there's liberation of energy. So take a breath into that area and let it out, and see if you can melt or sink a little bit deeper in, and then make the sound for 3 to 5 seconds. Again, you might not know, it might be imagining, it might be making it up, but you're looking to see, can I match the quality? Like a tuning fork holding up a vibration where another tuning fork of that same frequency can match with it and start vibrating. That's what we're really seeking to do with the sound. To sink or melt in and vibrate and make the sound that lets the limbic brain pick up that information and send it to the higher brain centers. We're making a connection. And now, if that doesn't work, you're like, oh, I'm doing this exercise, I just feel like I'm touching my body and it just is actually agitating me, or I'm getting more uncomfortable, or it feels like it's just not, then acknowledge it for a moment. Right here, I feel disconnected. Right here, I feel disconnected. Or right here, it feels just numb. Or right here, I feel nothing. Or right here, it feels like nothing works. I've been trying so many different things and nothing changes, nothing works. I try everything and this just isn't going away. Sometimes I feel so helpless. Sometimes I feel so powerless. And the achiever doesn't want to acknowledge that because we want to like have a solution and fix it. But we want to turn the it to, we want to suspend the illusion of solidity of the it and return to the energy and the feeling and the quality and the sensation. So now take your hands off that area and come back to the area that felt more easeful. From out beyond, I'm going to come back in. I'm going to touch. I'm going to breathe in and let it out with the sound of sigh, of release, of ease, of letting go. Safety and connection. Back to embodiment. I'm here, I'm present, I can be with my body. This is a safe place, whether it's my feet, whether it's my heart, whether it's my solar plexus, whether it's my legs. I'm going to touch into there. And then I'm going to move from that to the place that was more challenging. I'm going to revisit that for a moment, take a breath in. And then as I melt out, as I sink down, I'm going to allow myself to receive, allow myself to go into the interior, from out beyond into the interior, melting through the layers, and notice, can I sink a little deeper in, and then make a sound for 3 to 5 seconds that would allow me to penetrate a little bit deeper into the interior. Oh. Oftentimes you find yourself making a sound that you really are uncomfortable making, but that oftentimes is the key that unlocks the door to going deeper into the interior and reconnecting to the body. Sometimes emotion will come up. Sometimes a feeling of energy will start rippling or radiating out from that area. It's critical that we are with the experience without judgment and without an attempt to change it or make it different or make something go away or be less. There's an invitation here for the allowance of the energy that's been in this area, that's been held, that's been symptomatic, for it to spread or expand. If you drop ink into a glass of water, it would start to go from a droplet to filling the whole cup or glass. So we want to go in. Once we start to connect from out beyond into the interior, now we're going to invite the energy within to begin to expand. And imagine that place, that region that has been symptomatic for you. Rather than trying to make it less or go away, invite the energy within that to begin to expand expand, and return back to the whole. This is the integration. First, we have to identify and get to the place that felt separate, and then we invite the boundaries of the barrier to begin to expand, to diffuse, and the energy to return back into the whole, back into the system, expanding and opening. Now take a breath in. Remove your hands from the area and take your breath in and let it out, and then let your awareness unfurl out beyond your physical body, out beyond your hands, out beyond the room, out way back out into that infinite expanse beyond, into that pure expansion of consciousness. And then I'm going to invite you to come back closer and closer back into the space, into the room, towards your body. Now, again, the edges of the body begin to get more diffuse, more pixelated, more soft, and you're going to travel right through the area and go back to the place that was symptomatic, travel right through the skin, right into the interior, and go right into the quality of energy. And if you're bumping up or hitting against any boundary or barrier or edge, let it melt away and make the sound to help it melt away. One more time. Notice if you want to inhibit that, or if some part of you wants to reduce that sound and make it more tidy or neat. There's a little messiness to this because you're just allowing yourself to ooze, unwind, deepen, soften, express deeper into the interior. Now, as you lift, breathe in, expand, 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 open, and then sink back down. And one more time, sound. And let it out. And then bring your hands down to your side or wherever you want to rest your hands for a moment. We're going to bring ourselves back into awareness of the whole system here and notice that part, that place that has maybe been talking to you, speaking to you, yelling at you, screaming at you, associated with an injury, a traumatic experience, that as we begin to suspend that illusion that it's this solid thing that's there, that's just mechanically still happening, and we go into the energy and the quality of information, the quality of feeling and experience, we can begin to make that energy available and it can start to spread. And then rather than trying to make it get out of us or away from us or reduce, we actually invite that energy and that feeling and that experience to flood back through and return back through the whole body, the whole system, to be integrated as part of us that previously we were not able to be present with. So there's never anything to get rid of. There's never anything to run away from. But to go to those places and to be with them, what I've gone through with you today is one way I've found that we can use this sort of map or model that we exist out beyond the interior here, like the Wi-Fi that goes out beyond the space of the building, and we can connect to the information outside the body, come in, and then visit with so much more compassion and so much more kindness and so much more curiosity, because we're not so trapped in there with the illusion that we're in the closet with all of that information. So this is a way to start, but we want to make sure that we start with finding a place of connection and ease so that we have some reference, because for some people, especially with severe trauma, anywhere on the body, touching the body is incredibly difficult, and they want to just go out and dissociate and disconnect and not be in the body. And this is the paradox. Sometimes going out beyond is the way in. That's the access to be able to then come and visit, because we're acknowledging that it's okay to be out there. Let's embody, let's come back and visit and just take little steps to begin to connect. And we start with an area of ease. We move to an area of challenge, but we, like someone who you're working with, someone who's had severe trauma. I think of the work of Deb Dana and that, like, such those delicate pathways. If you haven't read her book, the 50 exercises for polyvagal that are based on polyvagal, incredible, like building very subtle pathways to begin to reconnect and gauge where you're at. So we start with area of ease, area of more connection. We move to an area of more challenge, and we never try to reduce or diminish or take that away. We want to bring resource to and discover how to be with, and then allow that to expand so that we remember our wholeness. So this is just a little little exploration into a new maybe way for some people to come into the body and experience it. I'm grateful to be able to present this today, and we're going to open this up. Mary's going to open it up for some Q&A.
John,
and,
we have some
and let's
questions.
get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to dive in. We've got some questions. Advika says, I'm just feeling frustrated and crying throughout this session.
Mm,
And Hope says, I keep feeling exhausted, weakened, and the need to collapse into sleep. What's
mm,
that all about? And Darcy
mm,
says, what if I always feel disconnected from my body? Like
mm,
there's a part of you outside looking in, making sure I don't mess up. What would you say to these folks?
mm. So typically, um, if you always are, if you're feeling exhausted as you come into to engage with and touch into your body, you're coming into an experience of the emotional charge and the difficulty typically being present with the feeling and the experience. And that there's a tendency, I've worked with people who actually were narcoleptic, where as soon as they went to touch the body, they would fall asleep every time. So we have to build a bridge sometimes to be able to put that kind of focus and attention directly on the body without judgment, and begin to find an inroad to where we can touch and engage with the body. So I've had people where the only place they could connect with the body was the tip of their nose. Other people, it was touching the ears. One person, it was the chin, right at the tip of the chin. Another person, it was this position, right? Another person holding the body like this. Where can you touch or engage that doesn't feel exhausting, but actually feels like it takes you into a place? It doesn't always have to feel calmer. Sometimes it feels like there's pressure or there's intensity. And if you are feeling pressure or resistance, then that means you're engaging, but you're not connecting to the sense or the emotional quality of it. And so pressure or exhaustion means that you're going into an area and you haven't really matched the frequency of it, you haven't matched the sound of it. You're not your higher cortical centers aren't really fully associating yet. So there will be typically some exploration of finding a place of safety and ease that's needed. Again, this is just a little bit of a very, very small part of this beginning of this exercise. But if you find that you always just want to leave the body and you don't want to come back at all, you're not alone, because that's what happens with dissociation. But it's to come from out beyond, and then you can come a little bit closer, sometimes a little bit closer, a little bit closer. And as you come closer, if you feel that charge or dissonance, or you feel you're getting tired, or you're wanting to yawn, or you're feeling kind of pressure, then you can make the sound as your hands come closer to the body. So before you even touch the area, and then go back a little, a little further out, come back in, and then a little further out, come back in, until you can touch without the charge, without the resistance, because the field has a lot of dissonance and charge that's primary to the physical. So if you can match it in the field, then oftentimes you can come back and touch the body directly. So a lot of times what I have is people reach out, they'll come in closer and closer. When they hit the place where they start to feel some resistance, I have them make the sound for 3 to 5 seconds. And then go out further again and come back in. This time it's a little smoother. They can come a little closer. And then I'll have them make the sound when they hit the resistance again. And then go a little further out and come back in. And after sometimes 5 minutes, or a little bit less or a little longer, sometimes they can come all the way in. And when they're getting right almost to the body, they're like, oh, they're making it. And they can come back out and come in. And pretty soon they can touch the body. And then we start to explore. Now let's go under the surface. Now let's go 1 millimeter under the surface. And then let's start out here, come in. And that's a way to begin to come into the space around with presence and gentleness. And you can discharge and you can get closer until you can actually, because something can be so charged that if you try to put direct attention on it, the body's in reaction. So we want to build, this is a big common thing for people working with individuals who have experienced significant trauma, touching the body and putting direct focus on it. So that's why I chose to focus today on this one aspect of, hey, we come from out here, we can come slowly and carefully closer and closer, using the tone or sound to discharge some of that intensity till we can actually come with at least neutrality to touch the body. And then we can go inward.
That's really helpful. Can the Swaya is asking, can the area of safety be close to the area of chronic pain?
It can actually. The area of chronic pain can actually become the area of safety. That's the transformation that can happen. The place uh, that was the most challenging, that you were most trying to avoid, that you were most trying to get rid of, when you are with it, with acceptance, with presence, with acknowledgement, with kindness and compassion and curiosity, it actually can become the source of some of the most available energy, because it's energy that's bound that you're not accessing. And the only way to access something that is challenging to be with is to first accept that it is what it is. Right here, I feel disconnected, or right here, it feels so hard. Right here, I feel so scared. Someone in the comments said I felt there was a sound of a child crying that came out of me, right? There are these anchors and attachments to. I worked with someone yesterday. She was locked in a closet for 12 hours by her older sister and older brother. And she was in there crying and sobbing and screaming until she finally went into like a dorsal vagal shutdown, right? She just like disconnected. And she's now in her 60s. And the sound that came out of her as she started to connect to this region in her heart and her chest was the weakest, most helpless, sobbing cry that she never wanted to make. She never wanted to make that or experience that again, ever. So she did everything she could to avoid it, to create an architecture of tension, bound energy around that area so that her brain, she wouldn't have to register that feeling or experience. And we went there with we had to go with such tenderness. We started out off of her body. We came in until she could be there. And then she was like, oh no, I don't want to feel this. And I was like, let it yourself just go there and be with it. And just sobs were coming out because the intensity of that charge was so compressed that she had avoided it. Now she's reassociating. And then the energy spread and it went through her whole body, and every part of her was tingling with energy. And everything all of a sudden changed. Her whole reality shifted. And that's part of integrating that fragment that was withheld back in. So this kind of way of approaching these areas of symptom, of anchors, has that capability. But if you felt pressure or just more tension or frustration, then what likely happened is you really were probably pushing into the area, maybe too mechanical, where you're trying to like still do something to yourself rather than be with. And that will create a sense of oftentimes irritation or aggravation, because you're trying to work on yourself versus be with. You're receiving rather than doing. And so that also, there's an element of practice and working. This isn't a skill that people often immediately just get. Oftentimes it's like we work with this and we develop the capability to track these qualities and sensations, and again, suspend the illusion that there's these solid mechanical things happening, and return to the flow, really, and the feeling of presence with rather than doing to. So again, if you felt frustration or tension, you were probably still in your mind. Again, this is new, so it's normal. You're learning a new skill and you're like, oh, this is kind of hard, like, am I doing this right? Like, and you're pushing on an area, maybe pushing into it rather than being with and saying, oh, right here is this place that I just want to explore and not try to change. Acceptance, acknowledgement without desire to change something that has been bothering us is really challenging. It's a paradox that everyone has to deal with. How do we be with what is without trying to change it, so that paradoxically it can immediately change as soon as we accept it? Because as soon as you're with what is, it's already changing. And there's an element of this process that's very consistent with that reality.
John, this has been an incredible session. Thank you so much. We were so grateful to have you here. I'm sorry to our audience that we didn't get to all the questions, but thank you for being such a great and engaged audience. You'll find the replay in the TRF Somatic Library, and I'm asking you to please respond to our surveys because they really help integrate, grow, and they help us evolve. So thank you to everyone. It's time to sign off. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everyone at TRF and everyone who tuned in from around the world.
Bye, everyone.